Okay. Kuf Tesvav Amid Aleph. We're up to Kuf Tesvav of Amid Aleph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines down. And we're still in the sugya of going into a house to get a mashkin. So just to reiterate, if it's a mashkin shlei b'shas halva, right, that it's taken out, it's given not, we have machloikas whether shliach bestin can go in and get it or not, but certainly the person who the malva cannot go ahead and get it, and it has to be returned if he's a poor man, or we're going to see different halacha. You need to return it if it's a daytime thing. You need to keep it night, return it during the day. If it's a nighttime thing, keep it during the day and return it at night. You cannot go into his house to go ahead and take the ovid, to take the mashkin. You can't go in the house to take the mashkin. Now the Gemara makes a diak. It says the beisai. It could have said the bias. What's beisai? The beisai you have to nichnis. You can't go into his house. Avlat to nichnis the beisai shel arev. If he has a co-signer that co-signed the loan, you would be permitted to go ahead and get the ovid, to get the mashkin from that co-signer. You would be able to get from the co-signer. Now he brings a pasuk from two psukim from Mishlei, very art scroll type shit. The bottom line is it's going to be that you can go ahead if it's a din of an orev, you can go take it, and if it's a din of oinas devarim, if you went ahead and you some way somehow made him a person, belittle a person in some way, you'll be able to gather people to go ahead and ask mechila. So again, it's a long-winded pasuk. Bear with me. I'm going to give it. Okay. Anyway, says the Gemara. The Chenu Aimer lekach bigdai. Just 1 second. Okay, so the Arev, you could go into his house. What does the pasuk say? Right. The Chenu Aimer lekach bigdai ki Arev zar. Lekach bigdai, take the Arev's garment. Why? Because he became an Arev for a stranger. It also says, B'ni, if you go ahead and become a cosigner of money for your friend, Tokata lezor kapecha, right? You should go ahead and Tokata bizar kapecha. What is the lashon over here? Right? Your palm, you stuck out your palm for a stranger. If you're trapped with your words and your mouth was caught because you insulted someone, this is what you have to do. Being not self and save yourself. Go and lower yourself and treat your neighbor as a ruler. So what does that mean? Im mammon yesh biyadcha, if there has mammon on your hand because you are halva, hataloi pisas yad, open up your hand and pay up. Im lav, and if it wasn't that you gave a loan, but you insulted somebody, harbe alav reim, go ahead and get a bunch of people together and ask mechila for them, and ask mechila for that. That's what the Gemara says. Okay, says the Gemara, another pshat, sheni. Another litzat sheni, another pshat in beisai. Again, the first beisai is you go to the house of the cosigner. The beisai yat nichnis, avalat nichnis, the schar katev. Let's say you can't go for a loan, but let's say a person owes you money for schlepping, or the schar chama, or the schar of a wagon driver or donkey driver, the schar pundik for a lease, the schar the yaknas if you did some type of mural in his house, right? Yachal afil zakvan. So there you'll be able to go in. Yachal afil zakvan on nova. I would think that if they told you the wages now, they make it into a halva and you owe them. It says mases muma, and it's mashma that what not a loan, not any type of loan. Says the Mishnah. Almana ben shianiya ben shiashira. Almana, whether she has money or she doesn't have money, aim mashkin reisa. You can't go ahead and take a mashkin from her. Shenemar. Like sachbol beged almana. Do not take the beged of almana. Do not take as an ovid the beged almana. Now, here's what you're worried about. You're worried about if you're going to take that mashkin, what are you going to have to do? Yeah, you're going to have to return it. You're going to have to return it in the morning or at night, depending on the beged. and it's going to cause rumors in the neighborhood that something fishy is going on. So the svara behind the pasuk of why you should not go ahead and take the ovid of an almana, whether she is wealthy or not, is the fact that you may go ahead and start rumors that you're going visiting an almana in the evening and in the morning, and leaving in the morning. Now, l'chayra, this would only be true if it's somebody that you would return it to. What happens if you're wealthy and you can keep, she's a wealthy almana, she owes you money, you can keep the mashkin, so you don't have to go to the house, right? You don't have to return it. So our Mishnah seems to say it doesn't make a difference, right? Our Mishnah seems it doesn't make a difference. Whatever status she is, whether she's wealthy or not, you can't take a mashkin, despite the svara that it should only apply to a poor almana, not a rich almana. Because a rich almana, you do not have to return the mashkin, thus there's no worry or concern about what room is starting. Tanur Rabbanan says the Brisa, almana, ben she aniya or ben she ashira, and almana, whether she is poor or whether she's wealthy, that's our Mishnah, Dibur Rabbi Yehuda, these are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So you're not going to go ahead and take a mashkin. Doesn't make a difference, right? Rabbi Shimon Aimer, Ashira me mashkin oisa, and Aniya aim mashkin oisa. Why? Shatachayv lahachsila. You're going to have to return it. The ata mesia shemra b'shchunaseha, and you're going to give a bad name in the neighborhood. So now, guys, let this outside. Reb Yehuda, who said it doesn't make a difference whether she's wealthy or not, meaning it doesn't make a difference whether you return it or not. Obviously, he's not darshaning there's a reason behind the pasuk, because clearly the reason behind the pasuk is this: you might start rumors. So when Rabbi Yehuda goes ahead and says, even if she's an ashira, where the svara doesn't apply, obviously you're not giving time with the kra. You're not giving the reason. It's a carte blanche statement, nothing to do with the svara. Whereas Reb Shimon, who said no, in Yiddish we say venzich, it depends. If she is poor, you're right. You can't go ahead and take a mashkin because it's just going to start rumors. But if she's wealthy and you don't have to return it, there's no reason you should be able to take a mashkin. Why? Because Reb Shimon darshan's time with the kra. He's going into the guts of the pasuk, and the whole svara of the pasuk is that you're going to start a rumor. So where the svara doesn't apply, then you go ahead and it overrides the halacha. The statement. So when it says like sachbul almana, if the svara is because you're going to start rumors and that's the svara, you would be able to take the mashkin from a rich almana, which it wouldn't apply. So we're going to get into the Gemara. So Rabbi Yehuda doesn't make a distinction, does not look into the reason of the pasuk. But Shimon, who does make a distinction, does look into the reason of the pasuk. Clear cut. Now there is another Gemara in Sanhedrin, and that Gemara mimics our Gemara, but it reverses it because it's discussing the following halacha. Frag the Gemara kash. What do you see over here? That Lememra, that remember Yehuda says there's no chilik between the two, and Ashira and Aniyah. Rabbi Yehuda leidorish time of the kra. Rabbi Yehuda does not look into the reason behind the pasuk. Rabbi Shimon, who makes the distinction between almana who's rich and poor, dorish time of the kra. We heard the opposite. That nan. Why does it say by a king, fellas? It says by a king in Parshat Shoftim. It says. It says by a king in Parsha Shoftim, Lo yarba lo nashim, lo yasul levavai. He should not go ahead and have a lot of wives, and then it says, and they should not turn his heart away. Does not turn his heart away. Okay, so again, he shouldn't have a lot of wives. That's what it says. With the Gemara Darshans, guys, 18 max, right? 6 kahena v'chahena. That's David had 6 wives. The chahena is another 6, 12. The chahena is another 6, is 18. And you shouldn't have a lot of wives. And la yasser, in order that they shouldn't turn you away. And we're going to see from here the opposite, that Rabbi Yehuda does darshan time of the kra, and Rabbi Shimon doesn't darshan time of the kra. So we're going to have a stira from the Mishnah in Chaf Aleph in Sanhedrin discussing the king's wives, and our Mishnah discussing the mashkin of an almana. Okay. What do we see? The Tanya, it's really the Tanan, it's the Mishnah, guys. The takeaway, it's not Tanya, it's Tanan. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Marbahu, Ubulvad shlayim mesiras as liboy. In other words, guys, what does the pasuk say? Lo yarba nashim lo yasser es liboy. So the time of the cry is, why shouldn't you have a lot of wives? Is because they're going to go ahead and turn them away. What happens if they're wives that won't turn away? Then you could have more. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda is going to the tam of the pasuk. He's saying you could have more if they're not going to turn you away. So you take into account, just like over here, you take into account the rumor. Over there, you take into account al yasser es levavai. Reb Shimon Aimer, afilu achas v'himisir es liboy harizal yasena. If it's one that's must of the heart, even one you can't marry. Even one you can't marry. And came out time like Reb Shimon that it'll turn away your heart. Obviously, so who then? Why does it say that you should be married nashim? I feel Avigail that even if you have 18 wives, and the 19th wife is going to be like David took Avigail, who was again she was with Mitoti 18, but she was a tzaddikus, she was a neviah, right? Even such a wife, if you have 18, if you max out, that's it. Now, what do you see over here? You see, right, the Rabbi Yehuda Darshan's time of the Krah. Says Rabbi Yehuda, the reason you can't take more wives is because they're going to turn you away. Take away the reason they turn you away, you could have more. Says Reb Shimon, you don't darshan time in the Krah. Even one, if she moves your heart, even one, if she it takes you away, right? So therefore, you have a stira. Reb Shimon darshan's time of the Krah by us. He doesn't darshan time of the Krah by Sanhedrin. Rabbi Yehuda does not darshan time of the Krah by us. He does darshan time of the Krah by Sanhedrin. We're going to switch it around. Says the Gemara, La'olam Rabbi Yehuda loy darish time of the Krah. So what's the right svara of Rabbi Yehuda? The mashkin by the almana, and there's no difference between a rich almana and a poor almana. You can't go ahead and take a mashkin because he doesn't darshan time of the reason. Why does he darshan it by there? Right? Says the Gemara, v'shayni hacha. It's different over here by kings. The mafresh kra. If the pasuk says it openly, v'layarbelei nashim v'layasser. Right? My time v'layarbelei nashim. What's the reason you shouldn't create nashim? Mishum v'layasser. It's stated openly. By us, guys, there's no mentioning whatsoever of rumors. It simply says like sachbel beged almana. There's no mentioning of it. Masha'en came. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda does not dash in time of the Krah. Masha'en came. The pasuk by Shaftim says openly, what's the reason? Because of the Yasser Levavai, because they're going to go ahead and turn you away. They're going to go ahead and turn you away. Therefore he darshans it. So therefore, we answered up Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what about Rav Shimon? Rav Shimon by us does not dash the time of the Krah, and he does dash the time of the Krah here by us, saying there's a chilik between the rich and poor, and there he doesn't, right? And there he doesn't make a distinction. What's the difference? Says the Gemara, Michti, Ba'almud Dashin time of the Krah. He really doesn't dash the time of the Krah like by us. In other words, fellas, our Mishnah is the pshat. It's Rabbi Yehuda who doesn't darshan time of the Krah, and Rabbi Shimon who does darshan time of the Krah. And Rabbi Yehuda is different by what? By Sanhedrin, because the pasuk itself spells it out. Why does Rabbi Shimon not darshan time of the Krah over there? Right? Time of the Rabbi Shimon michti. Ba'almei darshina time of the Krah. You really darshan time of the Krah. Lichterach mana lo yarbe le'bein and lo yasser. Banoya dana. My time of lo yarba. What's the reason you shouldn't? Mishum lo yasser. I would know that. In other words, if you're dashing time of the Krah, don't say it. Don't say it. Just like by mashkin le'sachbol beged almana, it doesn't say the reason of rumor. So too, it should say lo yarba le'nashim, and we'd understand lo yasser. Why do you mention lo yasser? Why do you mention lo yasser? Right. V'leibin lo yasser. Banoya dana. My time of lo yarba. Mishum lo yasser. Leyasser the kasser achman alamali. Why is it right? Leyasser afilu achas and mesiras liboy harizal yasena. To tell me even one that would go ahead and take his mind away, you can't darshan it. So in other words, there's an anomaly. There's an anomaly in the pasuk of layarba leynashim. Each one, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon darshans it a different way. Rabbi Yehuda by us who says you don't take the mashkin whether she's rich or poor does not darshan time of the Krah. Why does he darshan it in Sanhedrin? And why? Because it says because the pasuk states the reason. Good. Rav Shimon's the opposite. In order to darshan time of the Krah, you don't need the pasuk saying it. In other words, it's understood. Why can't you go ahead and take an almana? And it doesn't say why. Because of rumors. Those rumors only exist by poor. Why, therefore, does it state it by Sanhedrin, by the king? It should say, Lo yarba lo nashim, stop. And I would know why necessary to say Lo yasser, that even one Lo yasser. Baruch Hashem. Says the Mishnah. If someone goes ahead and takes a rechayim, okay, so we saw that a rechayim is a two-part. Rechayim v'rechav. Rechayim is the bottom part, and rochav is the top part. Rochav, like it rides around. Rechayim is stays. So this is speaking about a hand mill. It's not being. It's speaking about a hand mill. And the pasuk says, "Lo yachbol rechayim v'rochav ki nefesh hu choyvel." Guys, listen to the words. Lo yachbol rechayim v'rochav ki nefesh hu choyvel. It's mashma. There is two possibly surim or three possibly surim. Lo yachbol rechayim 1, v'rechav 2, ki nefesh hu choyvel 3. So again, we're going to dash in this pasuk. You take a mill, you're taking l'chayr, you're taking the whole thing. Over mishum le'saseh, v'chayiv mishum shnei kelim. You're over le'saseh, and you're chayiv for 2 kelim. You're over on what? On rechayim, and you're over on what? Rochev. Guys, rechayim is a lashon of both of them. So shenemar le'yachbol rechayim v'rochev. You shouldn't take the lower part and with the upper part. And since the Torah spells it out, you're over in 2 lavin. Taisa speaks out even with 1 hasra. Taisa speaks out, fellas. The bottom Taisa, even 1 hasra, you be chayiv twice. Usually, you need warning. You need hasra on each one. Okay. And not only a mill. Anything that's used for oichel nefesh, anything that's used what to make food, similar to a mill which is producing the flour. That's what it says. So 3 parts of the psukim. Rechayim, Rochev, and Nefesh. Chayvel, and the Mishnah is darshaning as to give us a paradigm, not limiting it to that, but anything that's what for Eichel Nefesh. Rav Huna. I'm going to have guys here. I'm going to have Machloikis, Rav Yehuda, and Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. Rav Huna is going to say 3. Rav Yehuda is going to say 2. I'm going to suggest the Machloikis between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda is Machloikis between Abaya and Rava. Or actually Abaya and Rava, who are later Amoraim, like Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. Okay, Rav Huna, Chavel Rechayim Loikeshtayim. You get 2. Mishum Rechayim 1, and Mishum Kinefesh Uchayvel 2. Rechayim V'Rochev. So in other words, 1, you're taking the lower mill, and you're going to get malchus for that and kinefesh. If you take the rechayim and the rochev, if you take both the whole lower mill and upper mill, like a sholish, mishum rechayim for rochev, mishum kinefesh uchayvel. So he learns kinefesh uchayvel as a 3rd lav, not as an explanation on the first 2 that it's oichel nefesh. He learns it as a 3rd lav. That's Rav Huna, 3 lavin, rechayim, rochev, nefesh. Rav Yehuda Omer, no. Chavel rechayim loika achas. If you take the rechayim, then you're going to get 1. V'rochev loika achas. You take that you'll get what? Another 1. That's no. So I take the lower 1, get 1. I take the upper 1 alone, you get 1. Rechayim v'rochev loika shtayim. But nefesh you're not going to get a what? A la for. Nefesh hu ochayvel amibeis. Nefesh hu chayvel l'shad devarim mu'asa. It comes to tell me that there are other things that for Eichel Nefesh you would get it, but not to go ahead and add on a lav. Rashi says, sufe lav arechayim v'rochev. It doesn't come to add on to arechayim v'rochev. The arechayim v'rochev ksiv b'reisha. It says that in the beginning. It's the kinefesh the rabbi shar kelim shel Eichel Nefesh. Not only a mill, but any kelim for Eichel Nefesh. A pot, guys. You take a pot, you take an oven, whatever you take, that would be what you'd be over that as well. So again, let's just reiterate. Loy Rav Huna 3, Rechayim Rochev Nefesh. Let's not go with this hand. I'm sorry. 2, 3 and 2. So we're going to say this 3 and 2. Okay. So again, what's the reasoning? The one who holds 3, because Nefesh is a 7 lav. The one who holds 2 is Nefesh is just to include anything similar to the Rochev Rechayim, but not to add on a lav. Lema Abaya v'Rava beplukta the Rav Huna Rav Yehuda Kamifliki. Okay. This is a pasuk in Bay or in Bo, depends on where you're from. You'll eat the basar on this night, Korban Pesach, sli eish, broiled in fire, umatzos al meroimim yachlu, and with matzah and maro you'll eat it. Al tochlu mimenu na ubashel mevushel b'mayim kiim sli eish roishoy al kroav al kirboy. Its head on its knees and its innards. Guys, listen. Look at the pasuk very carefully now. Al tochlu mimenu is going on. Na means half broiled. Bashal mevushel b'mayim, self-explanatory, cooked in a liquid. And kiyim sliesh is this al tochlu is going on kiyim sliesh. In other words, if it has to be, do not eat it only sliesh. So this is a lav, even though the actual sliesh seems to be an asay. If you don't eat it sliesh, or even a lav of not eating it sliesh, because this al tochlu is going on this and this. Now, this is called a lav shebeklolis, guys. It's a lav that is kolel various means of cooking or improving a food. It includes na, bashal, sliesh. Good. This is called the lav shebeklolis. Okay, so with this in mind, let's begin the sugya. We want to say that the machloikas between Rav Huna, who says 3, and Rav Yehuda says 2, Abaye and Rava are arguing in that as well. Lema Abaye and Rava beplukte the Rav Huna of Rav Yehuda kemiflagi. The Amar Rava, achol na, if you eat it half broiled, like a shtayin, you're going to get 2 malchus. Mishum na, 1, or mishum kiyim sliesh. Again, there's a law. Remember, the leisokul is going on kiyim sliesh, so that's 2. Mevushal, if you eat it mevushal, like a shtayin, mishum mevushal or mishum kiyim sliesh. No mevushal, if you eat it half broiled and in addition cooked, like a shalosh, mishum na, mishum mevushal or mishum leisokul kiyim sliesh. Okay, who says that? That's Rava. So apparently Rava would agree with Rav Huna. Just like Rav Huna gives you 3 things for rochav mechayim and nafesh, here you can get for na mevushal sliesh. So that's a matchup. Abaya says ein loikin al lav shebeklolis. You don't get malchus on a lav shebeklolis. And what's a klolis mean? An incorporative lav. As I just showed you, this is a classic case of an incorporative lav. Al tochlu, do not eat, and that means do not eat what? No mevushal. So it's a lav shebeklolis. So we want to say, if you're not going to get on lav shebeklolis, so what are you going to get, right? Lema, in other words, right? Let's see Rashi on this. 3 lines down. Alav shebeklolis mishum lo yisachlenu kiyim sliesh. The kayel na, because only sliesh, which includes no mevushal. Vein loikin ela al no umevushal shem mufurashim. In other words, when Abaye says you're not going to get malchus, fellas, doesn't mean you're not going to get malchus. You know what it means? You're not going to get malchus on the kiyim sliesh, because that's included in the al toichlu. So what are you going to get malchus for? No umevushal. So later Abaye, you're only going to get 2. So let's suggest that Abaye, who says you only get 2, holds like Rav Yehuda, who says you only get 2. So Rav, who says you get 3, he holds like Rav Huna. And Abaye says get 2 means you hold like what? He holds like Rav Yehuda. That's what the Gemara suggests. Now the Gemara is going to go ahead and escape and say no, either one can come either way. That says the Gemara. Lema Abaye Damak Rav Yehuda 2, for Rav Damak Rav Huna 3. Amalach Rava says Rava. I'm not Dami Afiluk Rav Yehuda. I who say 3 over here by Korban Pesach can hold like Rav Yehuda that you only chayiv 2 by taking a mashkin. Ad kan lekam Rav Yehuda Hasan by the mashkin elik dechi nefesh hu chayvel le mashma chayim v'rochev. The last part of the pasuk, because the nefesh he's taking is not mashma, it's going back on mechayim v'rochev. Hilkach l'shad devarim hu da'asa. Therefore, it's going on pots and ovens and other implements used for what? For cooking. Aval hacha over here by Korban Pesach kiyim sliesh lamay asa. Why? What is it coming for? Shma mina lalav. Now, fellas, if you look at the pasuk, this is geshmak as anything. Look, Al toich mimenu no bevushel v'kim sliesh. Mashma, you would need this to tell me you have to eat it, klit sliesh, but it's not true. Look at the pasuk before. You'll eat the basa this night, sliesh. So we told already in the pasuk before the mitzvahs asay of sliesh, right? We see it in the pasuk before. I don't need the second pasuk to tell me it's sliesh. It must be therefore to add on a lav. It must be therefore to add on a lav. To tell me there's a mitzvah to eat it sliesh, pasuk ches tells me v'yachlu es habasa b'layla zeh sliesh, boiled. Good. So therefore, when it says over here in this pasuk, I'll talk a minute sliesh, it must be to add on a lav that if it's not sliesh, you chayev a third time. So says Rava, I can agree. By mashkin, it says rechayim v'rochev nefesh. One this has not going back on the other two. Over here, the sliesh obviously is going back on the lav. Why? Because the pasuk before tells me there's a mitzvah of sliesh. Ella, what's it mentioned? I don't have to tell me. I know it has to be in sliesh from the pasuk before. So when you tell me al toichlu min no mevushel no umevushel b'mayim, why did you have to add king sliesh? It must be tear on a lav, says Rav, and therefore you have 3 by Korban Pesach, but only 2 by what? By mashkin, because nefesh is mashkin. It's not going back on rochav and bechayim. So that's geschmack. So Rav says I can hold like Rabbi Yehuda by mashkin, who holds 2. Now Abaya who holds 2 by Korban Pesach can even hold like Rav Huna who says 3 by what? By mashkin. V'abaya amalach, another army, I who say only 2 over here, because I'm looking at Lav Shabbaklalis, I'll talk like Menu. I feel the Rav Huna can even hold what? Like Rav Huna, you chayev 3. I can like Rav Huna Hasam, Ela Dechi Nefesh, Hu Chayvel, Yiseiruhu. It's totally extra. I don't need it at all. And keeping the Yiseiruhu, since it's extra, Shadya Rechayim V'rochev. I'll throw it on Rechayim V'rochev. Let's see Rashi. Yiseiruhu, Lulav. It's extra for a third lav. Mishum shad devarim. The kivin yiseiruhu lilav, since it's extra for a lav. The kasve stoma, and they wrote it stam. Shad yinami arichayim v'rochev. So it's telling me shad devarim lav. It's extra lav. Guess what? I'll throw it on that also. Shein l'chaloy tzimi mashmois. Because I don't have to take it out of its pashup shat. Ki nefesh hu chayvel al korchach. Avol hacha kim sliesh lav las hara asa. It's not coming for any reason. La sufe lav yisera, to add an extra lav. Elikadetanya, as we're going to see in a second. Okay, so by nefesh, it's extra. Since it's extra, I'm going to use it to teach me 3. Mashenkin over here, it's 2. Why 2? Says, continues the Mara, right? Aval hacha ki im sliesh lav yiserahu. Over here, ki im sliesh is not extra. The mi boy leilachidetanya. I need it sliesh. Says Abaya, I need this sliesh over here, not for a lav. What do I need it for? The time when it's a mitzvah to eat sli, in other words, the only time you're going to be chayiv for no mevushal is in the time there's a mitzvah to Korban Pesach. So when there's a mitzvah of sliesh, which is the time to eat the Korban Pesach, then I'm going to be over on no mevushal. Pirish. Let's say you go ahead, cook the Korban Pesach halfway, and eat it. You eat it before the Zman of the Korban Pesach. You would not be over. Why? Because I got to go ahead and I make a comparison to sliesh. Just like sliesh is in the time where you have to eat the Korban Pesach before Chatzos, who are in the other ones. But if the other ones you eat at a different time, you will not be over. So since I need it for that, I don't need extra for a lav. So it comes out that Abaye and Rava can hold like each one can hold like Abaye can hold like Rav Huna and Rava can hold like Rav Yehuda. Hani kabasi Rav Yehuda 2. Again, we're going now on, guys. We're going now on. You're only chayiv for the rechayim v'rochev. You're not chayiv for nefesh. Now Rashi learns you need to put these 2 brises together to come to that conclusion. We're going to have 2 brises. Rashi says you cannot learn it from either one separately. You need both, as we're going to see in a second. If you go ahead and take, Rashi learns over here, you're taking the scissors of a barber, v'tzemed shel paras, and you're taking a yoke of oxen, chayiv shtayim, then you be chayiv twice. You be chayiv twice. In other words, on the zug you be chayiv for each part. On the animal you be chayiv for each part of the yoke. Good, of the yoke. That's how Rashi learns. Little shverlich, fellas, on Rashi. If you're dealing with oichel nefesh, what does a barber have to do with oichel nefesh, right? So I told you that this taisus was a nice taisus to know. If you look at Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, the third taisus in the bottom, Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, the third taisus in the bottom. It says, "Es hamachresha biyoim, kashel menutam, the Tanya b'seif pirkin, chaval zug shel saparim, it's semesh shel parois, chayim mishum beis kalim, upirish b'kuntris, parois hacharshus, these are cows that they thresh with, plow with, v'chayiv aleim hachoivlin, anyone who takes them, v'shois noichel nefesh. In Cain, heichel nota es hamachresha, how can you take the plow, the Gemara over there, how can you take a plow? That's also oichel nefesh. Diktani umachser ha'ava ki nefesh uchayvel. So one question, if you're talking about parois, Rashi learns, so a plow also would be for oichel nefesh. And the oichel nefesh, any oichel nefesh, you can't take it all and return it. You can't take it, period. They near l'chayev al dafke dumidrei chayim v'rochev shemetaknen oichel atzmai bekli. In other words, not something that could lead to oichel nefesh, but something that directly is involved with oichel nefesh. So you have a mill that's directly involved with oichel nefesh. If you have cattle plowing a field, then you still have to plant the field. In other words, it's far removed from the actual oichel nefesh itself. Lochein mefarish benu tam semed parois hainu parois hameraksois b'tfua. These are parois that they crush the tfu itself. So since they're crushing the tfu, they're directly involved in what? In the process. And the Geras Rabbeinu Tam Nami Zug Shel Misparayim V'loi Kasin and Zul Safrin. We don't go. We're saying Zug of scissors, not the Zug of barbers. The Chen Geras Rabbeinu Chananol V'hem Taspoirish Shel Yerek Ligzay Space Shlita. In other words, it's either something used to cut vegetables or to cut the hair away from the base of shchita, but not what? Not a barber. So I would like that. I think that fits in a little better within the confines of what we're trying to do. We're dealing with oichel nefesh rather than what? A barber or tzemebach. Okay, so that's just a little bit of. Okay, now we're trying to bring a raya to Rabbi Yehuda that you only chayev two rochav rechayim and not for the third. Okay, so now Tanya Kabasei the Rabbi Yehuda, back one more time. Chavel zel saparim and benutam is goris misparayim, but semet shel parois chayiv shtayim. You chayiv twice. Zeh ba'atzma v'zeh ba'atzma. If you take them singularly, and chayiv ala achas, you chayiv only once. Now, l'chayra, could you say this is a raya to Rabbi Yehuda? Because it says what? Zeh ba'atzma v'zeh ba'atzma. You only chayiv two. Now you're not chayiv. You'll never be chayiv more than two. Never three. Only two. Rashi says you can't bring a raya because it's not speaking about Rochav Rechaim. Maybe Rochav Rechaim are different because the pasuk tells them Rochav Rechaim and then Nefesh is going on that. So therefore, you can't bring a raya from this. Next, Vitanya Idach. Rashi says this is necessary. Why? Because here it says openly, Chavel Zug Shel Sfarim or Misparayim, but Semesh Shel Paros Yochel Yechayiv Al Achas. I'm thinking only chayiv once. Tamad Loimar, and now we bring in exactly our pasuk Leyachbol Rechaim V'Rochev. Marechaim v'rochev shein miuchodim shein kalim voisim malacha achas. The two kalim that they do one malacha. V'chayiv al zeb v'yatzma zeb v'yatzmai. So if you take guys, if you'd steal the whole meal or the whole mill, you chayiv twice. Guys, you steal the whole mill, you chayiv twice, right? Af kol dvarim shein shnei kalim. So to any dvarim that are two kalim miuchodim voisim malacha achas chayiv al zeb v'yatzma zeb v'yatzmai. So to any kalim you be chayiv twice. So clearly, now, what do you gain with this that you know from the first? In other words, here's the question: we're bringing a raya that the halachas like Yehuda that two, not three. So why can I bring a raya from the first brisa? Because it doesn't mention Rochav Rechayim. Why can't I bring a raya from the second one? Because it doesn't mention two. So you put them together. The first brisa mentions two. The second brisa mentions Rachel Rechayim. And now you have a raya to Rabbi Yehuda Shita. If you take an ovid of Rachel Rechayim, you only chayev twice. That's what Rashi HaKodesh learns pshat in this Gemara.